So we're gonna start like this today. We're gonna bring blocks handy close to the front of the mat, and you're gonna grab a blanket. So we're gonna do a knee release first so that our knees feel really open and ready for action. So you're gonna take your blanket into a half pillow fold, and then you will roll it up so that you've got what I call a burrito roll. And I always go from the folded edge to the fringe edge if you have a fringy blanket. The other blanket is not necessary for everybody, but Gay, I know it's going to be important for you to make just a little bit of a roll on that blanket to put underneath your ankles. So other people can try that as well. So you're going to, if you have that underneath roll, you're going to place it right underneath the fronts of your ankles. So your feet kind of drape onto the top of the blanket. And then I like to put maybe I should show you this from the side. All right, I like to put a block underneath my head here because for the reason that the next thing that we're gonna do, and you'll see. Actually, I'm gonna place it flat. So you're gonna take this burrito roll, you lift up your hips, and you take that burrito roll and shove it as tightly as you can in behind your knees. So you can take a moment to do that, to really get it tight in there. And then you try to hold it in there as you sit back. And now this second block comes in like I think they used to use these in golf, a little golf seat. So you take it so that it's on the medium height, or for me, that's true. For you, it could be on the tall height, and you sit on it. If that's too much and causes pain, try it on the tall height. Make it at an angle and sit like a little golf thing. And what this does is it creates what's called gapping. Well, it does a number of things, but one of the things that it does is gaps the knee, so that if the knee joint gets tight because ligaments and things are pulling that knee joint in tight, it doesn't feel like it can move. And when you put this blanket in, it just gaps open. I don't know if you can see that from far away. Just kind of gaps open the front of the knee and creates space. That's the first thing, or that's one thing that it does. The other things that it does is the blanket there is pressing on the calf muscles, and usually it's kind of diagnostic. So you can feel, oh wow, my right calf is really tight, or my left calf is really tight, or they're both really tight. And then the third thing that it does is it presses up into the hamstrings. So now you're really getting a stretch. You're getting a passive stretch of calf muscles and hamstrings, and you're getting a gapping of the knee. So breathe into that. If that's too much, you want to come up one level so that you're not causing so much discomfort that you can't breathe or you can't relax. You want to be as relaxed here as possible. And if this gives you a little bit of relief but not complete relief, the second way to do this is to take a little ball, and I recommend handballs, which you can buy cheaply at the sporting goods store. They're usually blue and they're very cheap. And you take that handball and you do the same thing with it, but on just one side. So on the side that's bothering you, and you try to put that ball right on a point that's really tight so that you start, it's like getting a fascial release, and then you sit back. So you do the same thing, but it's a little more pointed in its action, and you can direct it right into the place that's really sore. And so as you sit here, and you've been here for probably over a minute, you might notice that the pain is diminishing in the calves and the hamstrings, that they're already stretching. And you might even notice, you can even reach under and just kind of pull the flesh on top of the patella, on top of the kneecap. You can kind of pull the flesh up and relieve it a little bit. So that should feel good. Let's try to be here for one more minute. And if you'd like to, and if you can't, that's okay too. You can come out of it and just stretch your legs behind you. We'll do a couple more knee things that are really good for resolving and helping heal knee pain. But let's just take a moment, if we can stay here, to close our eyes. And let your inner vision come in and just see and notice and get really x-ray vision, like really notice what you can see and feel together. I notice on my one knee that tends to be a little problematic, that I have a little achiness now starting to come into the front of the knee, and I consider that a good sensation. So in the myofascial world, we say that sharp, where you have to and take a breath like that, that's not good pain. But pain that's achy or dull or burning even a little bit is okay, because that means the fascia is stretching. Now just breathe through this as best you can. As best as you can, release any tension out of the body. I want you to imagine for now that you could breathe in through your skin. And so that you could imagine that your lungs are your skin and that everything is taking in that breath and softening all the fabric of your body. And literally you are a knit sleeve or a knit sweater. And so tightness in one place pulls on another. Even tightness in the skin or in fascia can affect something that seems unrelated and far away. So you want to try to release any tension that you can, even internal tension. And I would recommend this pose every day for the next week or two. And just try to take 5 minutes if you can in this pose to let that tension unravel, to stretch the fascia, to stretch the tendons. And when you come out of these long holds, you want to be in them for at least 90 seconds. 3 minutes is optimal, 5 minutes is even better. But when you come out of these poses, come out very, very slowly, because the fascia can rebound. So once it's been stretched and allowed to release, if you just pop out of it, it snaps back it can snap back like a rubber band. So you want to allow it to very gently extend again. So from here, I'm just going to rock forward and place my hands on the mat. Take another breath there, so you've taken some of the pressure off. And then from there, walk your hands forward. You can start to lift your booty off, and then very slowly make your way up. And then we're going to take the blankets out from underneath us, but you're going to keep your block handy. One of them is probably enough. Take that block and place it under your right thigh so that it's, not quite halfway. It's it's not underneath the knee, but it's up, maybe an inch behind the knee or so. Take your fingertips and place them on the floor beside you, and you're going to extend that leg. And so that it's mostly straight, you don't have to lock into the knee, but I want you to start to imagine that from the foot you could draw in muscle energy all the way up into the hip. And use those fingertips as kickstands wherever it feels comfortable for you. And keep drawing up. Do you remember when you were young trying to put on nylon stockings without ripping a hole in them? So it's almost like that. You're trying to pull gently but firmly up the leg. And you can even take your hands and kind of poke around and check and see that quadricep, that muscle on the top of the thigh from the knee to the top of the hip, front of the hip, is fairly active. It's awake. And you might even notice as you pull back that you could feel something in that side of the belly, like drawing back and closer to yourself, closer to the back. One more breath. And very gently release and take a cleansing breath. Now we're going to ramp it up a little bit. So we're going to take our Achilles on our left foot and sneak it in between the first two toes. That's one way. If that's really uncomfortable, you can also just rest your left foot on top of your right ankle. So yogi's choice what you want to do there. And then you start to straighten your right leg and lift up. It's like you're weightlifting, and you're going to use your left leg like a weight. So you're going to press into it as you go, as you drop down and then extend up. And you want to feel that quadricep really working. And as you're doing that, would you look at your right leg there and just notice that it's in alignment. So what do I mean by that? I mean that from the center of the hip, you've got a little hip point there on the front, to the center of the knee, to the center of the ankle, to the middle toe are all fairly aligned. They're all working together. And you want to do this until you feel so achy in the quadricep. And that's going to help stabilize the knee. It brings in a lot of strength around that whole knee. I'm going to do one more. I can feel that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. It's working. Okay, release that. Wow. Take the block out from underneath you, and then just reach underneath your thigh with both hands and just shake it out. And breathe. Now, if that was the knee that you hurt or that's weak, you might just pay attention to how that felt. If that wasn't, then you'll get to do a little bit of a comparison. So we're going to bring that block, and we're putting it underneath. So I'm in this configuration, the wide and short, underneath the thigh, about an inch or two behind the knee there. Kickstand my arms, and then take my legs straight. And I'm just working again, if you want to use your hands, if that helps you to imagine that you're pulling on nylon stocking all the way up the leg, all the way up into the hip, even up into the belly. So you're really working at getting those muscles toned around the leg. So we know in yoga that a toned muscle is safer to stretch. So whenever we're doing anything, we want to feel this from the mound of the big toe, through the inner heel, through the inner ankle, through the inner knee, through the inner hip, as well as from the pinky toe side, the outer heel, outer ankle, outer knee, and outer hip. Everything is drawing up. And you might poke around and just notice that that quadricep is strong, or maybe you notice it's not so strong, that it's kind of just hanging out there. Okay, release that leg down, take a cleansing breath. And we're going to take our Achilles, or rest the right foot on the front of the left ankle with good kickstand arms to support you. You start to weight lift. So give it a little weight with the right leg pushing down on the left, so there's some resistance, and slow down. So you want each inch that you get to be really earned. And you should feel this aching in the quadricep pretty soon. You might notice left and right if it's sooner or longer. Tells you which side is stronger. We all have imbalances that way. And then just notice, if you can, as you're working, is the center of the hip tracking over the center of the knee, which is tracking over the center of the ankle, which is tracking towards the third toe, the middle toe. Keep going. I'm feeling pretty achy already, but I'm going to keep working that, because when you activate the quadriceps like this, it also frees up your hamstring. It's impossible to activate both muscles on both sides of the body at once, so activating the quadricep really frees that hamstring up. Can we do one more? And release. So good for us. Take that block out. Interlace your hands around the back of the knee and just shake it out. So we'll just do a bunch of all my favorite knee ones right now, which are really, really healing. So here's the second one. You're going to bend the right leg. You're going to take your right hand and place it on the outer shin. And you're going to be pressing it isometrically towards the midline. Now notice I'm not collapsing the knee in, so the knee is going to act against that. And my left hand now comes to the very center of the inner thigh. So my hands both look like flat to the midline, and they're going to be pressing towards center isometrically. So we call this shins in, thighs out, and this is the same action you want in many of your poses. You want the muscles to do this action, but sometimes the muscles have forgotten this, and so they're not supporting the knee to track properly. So if you flex the foot, and remember you're bringing the third toe straight up to the center knee, That's good alignment to the center hip. And then you start to stripe, and you can let your, so I'm just extending the left heel forward. And I forgot to tell you, but this is really good to do on the carpet, not on the sticky mat, because the sticky mat it'll act like a brake. So, and then you just stripe it forward. You can let your body hinge with it, and you're pressing shins to the midline and thighs to the lateral line. And you just keep going. And I try to do 10 of these. When my knee gets wonky, I try to do 10 of these a day. And what it does is it helps the knee remember to track properly. Because all knee issues are usually because you're not tracking properly, because the hip is too tight, or the ankle's too weak, or something's not working right. So this aligns the bones in their proper action. It's like giving a really clear directive to the leg on how you want it to bend and straighten. Okay, we've got a couple more. And you get a good arm workout too. Let's just take our hands and do the Ganesh Mudra, so we interlace the hands and pull apart just as a counter move. Take a breath, make your spine really long, and just pull. One more breath, pulling, pulling, pulling. And release. All right, let's try second side. So bending your left leg, the left hand comes to the shin, and it pushes isometrically towards the midline. The right hand comes to the center of the thigh. My fingers are pointed up to the sky, and I'm going to isometrically press those two hands together. I lift my toes so that my middle toe is tracking over the center of the knee, and then I begin to stripe it down, bending and straightening, letting my torso hinge with it. And this is another good opportunity for mindfulness, because we really want to see how we're tracking. We really want to see the shaping of our foot. Do you notice that the pinky toe side of the foot moves faster than the big toe mound? I mean, there's just so much that you can learn from how you stand, how your foot encounters earth, how your legs track, what muscles get achy. Those are all great learning opportunities for your practice. And keep going. I usually work for 10 of these at least a day. And you're going to get a little ab work in here too, just by nature of shortening that leg into the bend. It works the abdominals deep in their core. Let's do one more. All right. Release that out, shake it out, bring your hands into the opposite hand clasp for Ganesha Mudra, and begin to pull. And as you pull, lengthen through the spine. Imagine that you're pulling in such a way it allows you to emerge from the positions that we often take a little bit slumped. And you're just working to extend crown of the head. Feel the sitting bones even on the floor. One more breath and pull. Really go for the pull. Big deep breath in and relax. Full breath out. Let's interlace our fingers and just roll our wrists around. We're going to be doing something on hands and knees again for the knees. So I want our wrists to be really nice and warm. Let's take the palm face up, the arms straight, reach for the fingers and gently pull them back. The fingers are going to resist that a little bit. So it's always nice for muscles, remember, to be active. So just a passive pull is not as valuable as an active pull. That means you can slightly soften the elbow of the arm that you're working, and you can resist the pull a little bit. One more breath. Beautiful, and stretch. Turn that same arm over so the fingertips are pointing straight down. Grab that whole hand with your other hand and pull, and then just a little bit of resistance with the elbow soft. Get a really active stretch there in the hand. One more breath. And gently release. Let's try that whole thing second side. I'm actually going to give myself a couple wrist circles. Here we go, first side, second side. Straight arm, but remember elbow is soft. Fingertips pointing straight down. We just pull and open. Remember, if the elbow is soft and we resist a little bit, we'll get a safer stretch. We've engaged the muscles to be a part of the stretch. Last breath. And then gently, slowly release. Turn that hand face down. Fingers point to the floor. You grab that whole hand around and you pull. Soften the elbow. Resist the action. Breathe. Let your spine emerge from this pose so you don't get in the habit of slumping over or hunching the back. One more breath. And gently release to a couple wrist circles with that wrist. Let's go ahead and add fingers and toes. Let's just do a couple circles. We call this cleaning out under the rim of the bucket, right? You're just trying to get out underneath there so all the toes and fingers really add to the circle. They're not just passive bystanders. They're taking part in this circle. Let's go the other way. Big deep breath. All right. Let's come on to hands and knees. Here's another one that I do when actually, let's not go hands and knees. Let's do this one all the way onto the belly. I think it's nicer there. I just changed my mind. So coming onto the belly, you can actually stack your hands and rest your forehead on your hands. You're gonna tuck your left toe under, and you're gonna really kind of tuck it under. So like you might have to shrug that hip up and try to get that toe as tucked under as you possibly can. Once you get it tucked under, start to straighten the leg. And you're not trying to force the straightness. You're trying to be mostly straight, and then you're drawing the muscles around the leg, especially around the quadricep and the knee. It's like an extension without being a forced extension, bringing all the muscles, toning them around the leg. And you can rest your forehead down. And then you just continue to breathe and stretch. And you want to feel achiness again. You want to feel those muscles. This is just isometric action, right? Around the leg. Another breath here. And gently release. Okay, second side. So you're going to tuck the right toes under and take a few minutes to see if you can hike that hip up and tuck that toe even more under. And then stretch. And you're not trying to hyperextend. Like if you know you're a knee hyperextender, have a soft micro bend. And then really draw muscles up and around that leg. Hugging muscles to the bones. And notice if there's a place on your leg that doesn't like to hug, and see if you can put more awareness, more attention, more mindful action into that part of the leg. I notice for me, this leg is not as mindful. It's not as strong. I have to work a little harder to wake it up. It's a little lazier. And I think most of us have those kind of imbalances. So just notice. Let's try one more breath. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Go for it. And then release. Beautiful. Just come up to forearms. Let's take a moment here to rock left and right. So you gather your thighs underneath you in internal rotation. Then tuck your toes under and just bring muscle energy all the way up to the buttocks until you feel that makes the back bend freer. So the more you can bring that leg action up and around the low spine, the more you can bring action up into gluteals, usually the more safe your back and your legs are. See if you can keep that and melt your heart. See if you can keep those strong legs and see if the organs can just hang. See if you can keep those strong legs and see if you can extend through the crown. Beautiful. One more breath. And gently release down. Place your hands by your chest. Inhale, think cobra, lengthening up through crown, and then come to tabletop. Back to Child's pose. Big toes touching. Knees can be apart or together. Yogi's choice. Depends on one of the things that's really nice to start to get to know in your yoga practice is, are you more of a lumbar curver or a lumbar flattener? And those of us who are more sway back then and have weak abs tend to be lumbar curvers. We tend to do that easily, but the belly kind of hangs out. And then there are those of us who have really, really flat backs and flat booties. And that means that we tend to over flatten the low back. So get to know which is more of your style. And then here's what I suggest. If you're more of a lumbar curver, like a more sway back, bring your knees closer together in child's pose. If you're more of a flat back person, take your knees wider and allow that lumbar curve to move in more. So that we just start to get to know our practice and tailor our practice to our own bodies. One more breath. Inhale, come up to hands and knees. Let's tuck our toes under. Let's inhale to cow tilt. We're dropping the spine down. We're lifting the sitting bones. Remember here your shins in, thighs out action that you did with your hands. Shins in, thighs out. That means we take the sitting bones back and apart. We melt the heart down through the window of our arms. And we extend the crown. Last breath there. And then exhale, curling to cat tilt, pressing feet and hands down strongly, pulling belly, ribs, and sternum in. And then just for fun, can you work so hard that you lift your knees off the floor? And can you round the whole back to the sky? Can you use your abdominals? One more breath. And then release that. Sit on back on those tucked toes. Take a cleansing breath. Sweep your arms up overhead like you're flying. Bring your hands into prayer and drop them down to your heart. Take a moment, because we didn't do this earlier, just take a moment to make an offering for your practice. Beautiful, and then make your way up to standing. You're going to grab your blocks, have them handy. We're going to be doing a couple different things, some mindful movement to imprint shin action and thigh action, and then we'll be doing some soft sun salutations in increments, so you can really learn the pattern and get better at that. So make sure that your outer feet are parallel towards each other. Go ahead and lift your toes for a moment. Spread them wide, so if you look down, you can see all the matte color between each toe. Place them back down. Soften your knees. Take your arms out to the side, and as you squeeze that block, can you start to tippy toe slowly, articulate up into a tippy toe stance? And as you squeeze that block and exhale, can you squeeze it and come down really slowly? And then keep going like that. So you can soften the action of your arms. The arms are just there for balance, and you're just squeezing, and you're trying not to drop. I notice sometimes I'm not as mindful, and my heels just drop to the floor. But you want to take it really slowly and see if you can keep that squeeze action as you lift and lower. And you want knees to be soft. We call that micro bent. And you might notice that you're getting some strength even up into hamstring attachments, up to where they attach into the booty. So let's drop it down and do our final one. This time let's inhale, fly the arms up overhead. And exhale, release. Beautiful. Release that block. Shake it out if you need to. Let your hips wiggle side to side. Big deep breath in, big full breath out. We're going to take that block now in the narrow channel, And I'm gonna stick that right up into that central channel. You're riding a horse, tuck it in really tight there. When it comes into my pelvic floor there, I want to make sure that my feet are still parallel, and now they have to be closer together for me to feel that block squeeze. Okay, but I'm going to thoughtfully bend the knees, and I'm going to make sure that I'm not tucking my tailbone under so that I'm not shoving my back flat. That's not something we want to do. So we want to squeeze that block. One of my teachers used to jokingly say, be a giant Pez dispenser. Squeeze that Pez out towards the back. And then lift it up slightly, like you're pulling it up internally. It's almost like a Kegel, right? You're pulling up that action as you squeeze it back. Here we go for our our heel raisers. Arms can come out to the side softly. We let the squeeze lift us up. Take your time. You'll notice, whoo, I just lost my balance. So don't worry. That's part of the process is losing the balance or dropping too fast or getting wiggly. You're just really learning to focus here. Your action and your attention. Inhaling, raising, and exhaling, dropping. And if you feel a point, if there's a point straight in front of you that you can just focus on, I think you'll find it easier. See if you can keep your attention fluid. It's going to want to wander. Really keep it strongly to the midline. Get achy. Got one more. I find this really challenging, really a good challenge. Wow, release that block out and shake it out. So now you've woken up your legs, and hopefully that feels supportive to the knees as well. We're gonna come towards the front of our mat with blocks. But after you place the blocks down on the front of the mat, I want you to reach back for your burrito roll. If you don't have it anymore, make one. So that goes from the pillow fold, right? And we're taking the folded edge to the fringe edge and bring it all the way down. And this is where the blocks get really handy. Maybe for some of you, a wall or a chair is going to be more appropriate. You're going to step onto the blanket. So the balls of the feet are on the blanket, and your knees can be soft, and then you just pour yourself over, and you're going to get, oh baby, a really strong hamstring, calf, Achilles stretch. Really feel that the heels are entering the floor and that you can draw that energy up from heels up through sitting bones. And then from sitting bones, even as they're lifting, the energy presses back down through the heels. And if you want to, you can stack blocks, so you've got a headrest here. You could dangle your arms if that's appropriate for you. But just check at your feet and make sure mound of the big toe and mound of the pinky toes are equally implanted into that burrito roll. And so is the inner heel and the outer heel. This is where you really get to know the shapings of your body. And you see if you can bring that energy straight up the inner and outer legs. And from the heel, we lift up through sitting bones. We lift up the belly away from the floor. So you can see this is like Ardha Uttanasana. Here's a supported version with a little bit extra probably gastrocnemius. Those are the big muscles, the big calf muscles. An extra nod to those puppies. We've got one more breath. Root down through the heels, lift up through the sitting bones. And even see if you can take those sitting bones widen apart without locking your knees. Last breath. I think I said that already. And very gently find your way. Best probably to bend the knees and come back up to standing. And then just stand on your feet. And breathe and feel the results of that practice. May the feet be feeling a little more, the whole foot a little bit more on the floor. We're going to try a very similar thing, but this time we're just going to we're going to stand on our left foot and take the right leg behind. So my feet are almost parallel to each other again, not quite, but my right leg, or right knee is tucked in behind the left knee so that it could bend those knees. And then you're just going to hinge forward, trying to keep your flat back. And then as you're ready, you bow forward. Again, you could make a block tower for your head, or you could just hold on to the blocks as best you can. Release your neck and let the back knee gently unlock the front knee. And you just breathe. Feel into your outer hips. Feel how the sitting bones by default like to tuck under and get closer to each other. I want you to try to squeeze those shins in and widen sitting bones back and apart, so that you're always working on that lumbar length. And then the belly and the ribs lift up from the floor to give you support. Last breath. Okay, so bend the knees deeply. Now listen carefully, because we're going to do this later in the practice, but I think it just makes so much sense right now. Take the back leg. You don't have to straighten the standing leg, but take the back leg and just stretch it out behind you. Warrior 3. And then I'm going to take my blocks and I'm going to make them wide like a triangle to that foot, that standing foot. And I can bend the standing knee, making sure it's tracking, and I can straighten it just to power up that standing leg. Bending and straightening. Bending and straightening. Okay, from here, just for fun, take your left leg, left arm, and move it by your left hip. Activate the core, pull those up from the floor, and then see if you can move your right hand to your right hip. Warrior 3 variation, beautiful. Hands back onto the blocks, step on down. You can take your feet nice and wide and just swing into your hips left and right. Just go for a nice swingy. And a breath. Let's try second side. So the right leg steps in the center of the mat. The left leg sneaks behind it, so the back knee comes into the front knee, and they unlock together. And then inhale, lengthen out your spine. Think Ardha Uttanasana. And then as you exhale, bow. And again, you can make that block tower for your head if you'd like, or maybe a chair works well here. And you keep those knees unlocked. They keep each other honest, those knees. And you try to lift up the sitting bones and take them apart. Try to match that with belly rib action and breathe. So we still have that shins hugging the midline, thighs moving back and apart. That's what really helps our backs get strong and healthy. The abdominals stay working, especially on the exhale. One more breath. Beautiful. Release out of the pose a little bit. Take your blocks like a triangle to the front leg. Reach your back leg up into Warrior 3. And now you'll notice there might be a tendency to open that left hip up. You're going to drop it down so both hips are equidistant from the floor. And then bend the standing leg and straighten it without letting that left hip rise. Bend, making sure it's tracking over second and third toe. One more. Good. Then sneak your right hand back by your right hip. Activate your abdominals. Activate the work of the legs. Left hand sneaks back by left hip. Warrior 3. Nothing like starting a practice in Warrior. Exhale. Release on down. Bring that foot down by the other. Take your feet wide apart on the mat and just swing your hips left and right. All right, bend the knees enough that you can
reach for your blocks and your blanket safely and drop them off to the side. Then take a nice deep knee bend. Think shins in, thighs out. That's all. Shins in, thighs out. We call this pressure cooker pose. Beautiful. Bring the belly and the ribs in. See if you can look forward. See if you can even use your hands here. Press down and come up to standing. Bring your legs together. Take a cleansing breath. So now we'll back up a little bit and return to the beginning part of our practice, which is breath work. We'll do a sun breath. So we're going to start with quarter sun breath, move into half sun breath, and then full sun salutation. So our hands are together at the front of the mat. Front of our hearts. Our feet are parallel to each other. Our knees are soft. We just breathe in here and breathe out. And as you breathe in, can you notice that the heart lifts up inside the body? And as you breathe out, can you feel how that descends? I want you to try to exaggerate that. So as you breathe in, let the heart raise up a little bit more. And as you exhale, can you release it a little bit more? 2 more like that. Inhale. Lifting of the heart. Exhale, releasing of the heart. Last one. Okay, we work at quarter sun salutation. So the arms float down by the sides. We inhale, they float up. As we get there, we pause and extend the pose. As the exhale begins, the hands come together and the hands float down the center line of the body, and they soften the knees as the arms go straight. And then we inhale again and fly the arms. See if you can even lift up the heart space here, and exhale, release the hands down. And ideally, we want the breath to initiate the action, and then the breath and the action to move together. So the breath doesn't arrive before the movement, but the breath always initiates the action and the movement rides the breath. One more like that, inhaling, pausing to feel the turnaround of the diaphragm, and then exhaling, releasing. We'll move that into half sun salutation. So inhale, the arms fly. Exhale, they separate as you dive forward into Uttanasana. Then you inhale halfway up to Ardha Uttanasana. We're going to pause here as we exhale the second round. The abdominals come in strongly and the knees soften. And then we inhale and fly the arms up overhead, looking up. Exhale, the hands come all the way down, tracking through center, to release by your sides. Half sun salutation again. Inhale. Exhale, hands dive forward like a swan dive. Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. We stay there for another round. As you exhale, the abdominals drop in and the knees soften, and you inhale, the arms up overhead. Exhale through center line all the way down. Mindful breath and movement. Last one. Inhale, fly. Exhale, dive. Inhale, halfway up Ardha Uttanasana, staying for an extra round. With the exhale, accentuating the lift of the abdominals and the softening of the knees. Inhale, we fly up overhead. Exhale, arms float down through center line all the way to Tadasana, mountain pose. And then we add on towards full sun salutation, inhaling to fly. Exhaling, swan dive. Inhaling halfway up Ardha Uttanasana. Exhaling, abdominals, knees soften. Inhale, we take the right leg back to a lunge. Exhale, the knee drops to the floor. Inhale, stay here, think shins in, thighs out. And let's do one more breath here. Inhaling. Exhaling.
As we inhale, we start to rock it forward and back. And don't be afraid to do a few of them until you step forward on the exhale. Uttanasana. Second side. Inhaling halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhaling, knees soften, abdominals come in. Inhaling, left knee leg goes back to a straight leg lunge. Exhaling, knee drops to the floor. Inhaling and exhaling as you imagine, a little bit more than imagine, shins in, thighs out. One more. And then you rock forward and back on the inhale, taking as many rocks as you need to before you step forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Stay for one round. On your second exhale, abdominals strong, knees bend. Inhale, fly. Exhale, hands through prayer, all the way down to Tadasana. We'll repeat that, but moving from the second side first. So we'll step our left leg back first, and then our right leg, our right leg will meet it. Inhale, fly. Exhale, dive. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, abdominals, knees soften, left leg goes back, straight leg lunge. Inhaling. Exhaling, dropping the knee to the floor. Stay for a couple rounds, shins in, thighs out. Inhaling. Exhaling. One more. Full exhale, complete it, and then the inhale, we start to rock and move, and we step forward on the exhale, exhaling, Uttanasana. Inhaling, Ardha Uttanasana. Abdominal strong, bend the knees, exhaling, inhaling, right leg back, exhaling, knee to the floor, inhaling, exhaling, shins in, thighs out. One more breath cycle. Inhaling as we rock. Exhaling as we step forward into Uttanasana. Exhaling. Inhaling, Ardha Uttanasana. Stay for an extra round so you can work those abdominals up onto the spine. And as you do, soften the knees as much as you need to press the earth away and fly the arms up overhead. Exhaling down through prayer and to Tadasana, mountain pose. And we'll just take a moment here to pause and just notice and feel what's happening in the body. See if there's a place where tension is arising, and see if you can take a moment to soften that tension. On your next inhale, fly your arms up overhead, grab your right wrist, and exhale, bow to the side. We'll stay here for an inhale and exhale. You're going to still keep the same actions that you've been working on. That is feet strong to the midline, belly lifted, hips gliding back, and breathe into the right side of the body as if you've got leveler blinds that you're trying to open one at a time, and see if you notice which blind is stuck, and give it just a little bit more breath. See if you can stack your right shoulder over your left. Good. Root down through the strong legs and inhale to rise. Exhale, release your hands. Roll the shoulders, cleansing breath. Let's try second side. So inhaling, arms up overhead, grab your left wrist, exhale it to the side. Pause to find your actions, your feet, your legs, your hips gliding back, your abdominals lifting, and then try to find the place where you're stuck in those little ribs, or like opening each one to the light. Can you stack your left shoulder over your right shoulder? It means you got to do a little rotation, right? One more breath. And then inhale, come on all the way up. Exhale, release your hands. Walk your feet out to the outer edges of the sticky mat. Interlace your hands behind you. Soften your knees. Roll the collarbones open. Shoulder blades on the back. Inhale, lift the heart up into that heart cavity. Exhale, bow forward, bending the knees deeply. Let the arms float overhead. One more breath. Inhale, release your hands. Bring your elbows to your knees, pause, let the hips get heavy. Shins in, thighs back and apart. Drive the heart forward. Draw in the abdominals. Press down through your feet and inhale, rise. You can fly here with your arms, looking up. Exhaling, bringing your hands into prayer, walking your feet closer together. Take a cleansing breath. Okay, we're going to add on here. So I'm going to have you just watch if you want to get close to your monitor. I'm going to take you through stages of this, but this is the third stage. So I want you to see it so that when it comes, it's not a surprise. So we'll be taking, let's see, I'm going to start with my right leg back and my right hand on the floor. So it's a lunge. We're going to be opening up that lunge, and I'll take you through the stages so you'll get this, but the third stage, we keep our arms just the way they are. We make the legs strong. We drive the arms forward. They don't change any shape. They just move. This is called twisted warrior. Okay, this is the one that seemed to give a lot of confusion. And then we sweep it around like a merry-go-round. It goes all the way around into warrior. And you might have to adjust your feet so that the back foot is square and the front foot is open like a warrior. So I'll take that back in reverse just so you can see it. So here's traditional warrior. I think it's pretty familiar to you. You'll spin the back heel and you'll spin those arms around into twisted warrior. Okay, so that would just come back like that. And I'll talk you through that. We'll, again, take that in stages, so we'll work up to that place. Let's come to the front of the mat. Bring your hands into prayer. Take a cleansing breath. As you exhale, release your hands. Here we go into sun salutation. Inhale, fly. Exhale, dive. Inhale, press up to Ardha Uttanasana. The knees soften, the abdominals strengthen. We take the right leg back to a straight leg lunge. The right hand stays on the floor or on a block, yogi's choice. Think shins in, thighs back and apart, abdominals strong. Keeping those legs just like that, open your left arm to the sky. So now it's just a little twist. And we're not going to do it yet, but you can see how this could move right into twisted warrior, right? So just take that moment to see what that might look like later, so it's not a surprise to you. And as you're here, I want you to try to stack left shoulder over right shoulder. Shins in, thighs back and apart, abdominals strong. Good. And then release that. Inhale. Rocking forward and back. We step forward on the exhale. Uttanasana. Second side. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your knees, abdominal strong. Left leg stretches back to a straight leg lunge. Left hand stays on the floor. The legs think, shins in. Did you know the legs could think? Yes, they can think. That's mindful action when we bring our mind into our body parts. Shins in, thighs back and apart, belly strong. Keep that strength and open your right arm to the sky. And then just take a moment here in this twist to see if you can stack your right shoulder over your left. And see if you can think shins in, thighs out, abdominals strong as you lift up. This shape will eventually, later on in the practice, take us into twisted warrior, but not yet. From here, we drop our right hand down to the floor, we step our right leg back, and we take plank. And you'll breathe here, breathing in the abdominals high to the sky, even though you're in a plank.
Exhale, drop your knees to the floor. The elbows are going to glide straight back like they're trying to touch your hips. The head is going to glide forward, and you take yourself onto your belly. From here, inhale up to a little baby cobra. It's small, and you're just trying to lift the head of the arm bones up. That's the very top of the shoulders, so that they're at least as high as the elbows, if not higher. Beautiful, and then release that down. Think cobra again. So inhale, those shoulders lift you up. You push down, come to tabletop, and then into child's pose. I don't know if it's confusing for you when I switch sides so that I can still talk to the microphone. I apologize if that's true, but I'm going to try to switch around. You'll give me feedback later. One more breath. Inhale up to tabletop. You'll keep that inhale going towards cow. And then as you exhale, you'll take dog, stepping back into downward facing dog. Now we've done some great hamstring openers, so this might actually feel a little better than it usually does this early in the practice. But I'm going to have you bend your right knee and find your left leg like a piston. And from the sitting bone, you're going to root down through the heel on that left leg. And then from the heel, you're going to lift up. Without lifting the heel, it stays down on the ground, but you lift the energy up to the sitting bone. That'll give a good stretch for that hamstring. Good. Switch sides. Straightening right leg, bending left. Keep the heel rooted down. Make it feel like a piston there. And then inhale, lift up from the heel all the way to the sitting bone. Keep the sitting bone lifted, but drop your energy back down to the heel. Do that one more time. Lifting energy up the leg to lift sitting bone. Abdominals stay strong too as you press back down. Inhale, both heels up to the sky. Exhale, drop both heels down. 2 more like that. Mindful lifting of the heels. Take your time. Mindful planting of the heels. Take your time. 1 more. Just enjoying the breath, inhaling up and exhaling down. From here, we tippy-toe and walk our way to the front of the mat. When you get there, exhale to Uttanasana. Inhale to Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your knees to Utkatasana. And pause here. You can even take your legs wider if that feels better for you. Think shins in, thighs back and apart. Bring the hands to the hips. Lift the shoulders, lift the heart. Press your way up to standing. Exhale, release. Bring your hands into Samastahiti, right in front of the heart. Take a breath. Feel into your body, mind, and notice what's happening. See if the breath, that steady rhythmic breath, is just cleaning you out, helping you to release tension, frustration, worry. Okay, we're going to add on to that. So here we go, uplifting the heart on the inhale. Exhale, releasing the hands. Inhaling to fly, looking up. Exhaling, swan dive over your strong, mindful legs. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, strong abs, the knees bend. We take our right leg back to a straight leg lunge. Beautiful. Keep your right hand on the floor. Place your left hand on your thigh. Looks like a little C-clamp, and you just gently roll it inwardly. So the thumb side goes down, the finger sides come up. Think shins in against that action. Think thighs back and apart. This will really clear the spine. Think abdominal strong. Then stack that left shoulder, not so much the hand and the wrist, but the shoulder over the right shoulder. And the right shoulder sometimes wants to draw inwardly. Can you press that hand down and wide so that that shoulder widens too? 1 more breath. And gently release.
Rock it forward and back, Uttanasana. Inhaling to arrive on the exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Strong abs, soft knees. Take the left leg back to a lunge. Left hand stays on the floor. Right hand comes up to the thigh. It makes a little C-clamp there. And you move towards the thumb side. So you're rotating that thigh inwardly. Shins in, thighs out, even against that action. Abdominals strong. Keep the legs working like that and open your right arm to the sky. Think shins in, thighs out. Think abdominals strong and stack your right shoulder over your left. Not your hand, not your wrist, but your shoulder. The left shoulder likes to come inwardly a little bit, so press the hand down and go wide. Last breath. Good. Release that hand to the floor. Step on back to plank pose. Take a breath there, bringing abdominals away from the floor. Inhaling. As you exhale, drop the knees. The elbows glide back. The feet press the crown forward. The shoulders stay higher than the elbows onto your belly. Just bring your hands forward until they're underneath your face. So stack the hands and rest your forehead on your hands. And take a cleansing breath. Rock your legs left and right, so you draw the thighs underneath you. And then tuck your toes under. We'll do a little booty lift here. So with the forehead still on the hands, press the knees down and the hands down and try to lift the booty. And give yourself a little lumbar curve, a big lumbar curve. Try to get those hips up in the air. Try to get those gluteals up in the air. Try to bring in the abdominals into the action. Last breath. And release. And take a cleansing breath. Okay, we'll work our cobra work that we worked on Monday. So you're going to bring your hands by your chest. So it looks like you're going to do a push-up, and your arms are at almost a right angle. And then notice, and it's hard to notice if you don't have a mirror or a camera, but in general, the elbows go higher than the shoulders, and this becomes problematic for weight bearing. So as you push the hands down, lift the shoulders up until those arm bones are at a parallel to the earth. Good. Then lift, keep lifting, and lift your hands up off the floor. And then imagine that you could push the hands back down without doing it and lift the shoulders higher. And feel the musculature coming up into the back. Press the hands down, lift the shoulders higher. Press the hands down, isometrically, lift the shoulders higher. Good, and release. Take your head to the side, release your arms down, and just rock left and right. And relieve some of the tension that may come into the lumbar spine. Take a cleansing breath. Okay, we're going to try that again. So bringing the hands by the chest. Forehead, you're looking straight down at the floor. And you're just going to work the upper arm bones up. And you might notice that the elbows sometimes like to wing out. And our action here is to try to keep the elbows close into the side body. And just take a moment to notice that, and notice if one does it easily and the other doesn't do it so easily. We often can notice those imbalances. You're going to press down and just lift up into a baby cobra, and then float your arms and float your legs. Push down imaginarily with your feet and your hands and lift up higher. Push down in your imagination and lift up higher. One more just like that. Beautiful. Keep the height of your chest. Drop your feet. Inhale through cobra, up to tabletop, and back to child's pose. Take a cleansing breath. Take the child's pose that helps you shift and make changes in your body.
Either knees close together if you tend to be flat in the spine, or if you have to tend to be too much lumbar curve, and knees apart if you don't have enough. Think shins in, thighs out and apart, even here. Think abdominals lifted off the thighs, even here. One more breath. Inhale up to cow. Take that arch in the back, tuck the toes under. Take another breath there just to accentuate that curve, that back bend. And then exhale, downward facing dog. One more breath. And on your next inhale, tippy-toe your feet and walk your way slowly towards the front of the mat. When you get there, you want to arrive in the exhale for Uttanasana. Inhale, pressing up halfway to Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your knees. Bring your hands to your hips. Drive yourself into a back bend. Support it with belly. Inhale and arrive up to standing. Exhale, release your hands. Inhale, bring them to prayer. Enjoy the breath here. All right, so here's our big exploration for the last time. We've got one more, and then we'll do some nice relaxation poses. This is the one where the leg goes back, we open up into a twist, and then we come up into twisted warrior. We swing around to warrior two, to Utthita, where the arm comes onto the elbow comes onto the knee, and then to reverse warrior. Okay, so let's try that together. I'll guide you. Hands in prayer. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, release the hands. Inhale, fly them up overhead. Exhale, swan dive over your strong legs. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, left leg back. Left leg goes back first, remember, because we're alternating each time. So left hand stays on the floor. Right hand flies up to the sky. Remember, the tendency is for the left arm to move inwardly, so you're going to have to push it down and wide. Remember the legs, shins in, thighs back and apart, belly lifted off the thigh. Good. From here, the legs are super strong. You want to maybe come up in little increments, up onto tippy fingers, and then keep going until you just rise up into twisted warrior. Beautiful. Now we exhale around to regular warrior till you're all the way around into that traditional shape that you're familiar with. Inhale here. Exhale, elbow to the knee, other arm up overhead, nice and long in a diagonal pull. Good. From here, we inhale and exhale, feeling the weight in the front heel. And then inhale, come up to Goddess Warrior. Exhale as you reach overhead. Beautiful. And then inhale, we straighten that front leg. Let's just take it down into triangle. The hips go back to the left. The hand comes down to the shin. We unlock the knee. Stack hips and shoulders, one over the other if it feels right. And the left shoulder is stacked over right arm, triangle. Last breath here. And release. Bend the front knee. Bring your hands to the floor. We're just going to rock forward and back on the inhale. As we arrive, it's the exhale to Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Inhale, halfway up to Ardha Uttanasana. Right leg stretches back to a lunge. Right leg back to a lunge.
The right hand stays on the floor. We go shins in, thighs out, and we open the left arm to the sky. Remember that the right shoulder likes to collapse in, so we press down and pull it wide. The legs go shins in, thighs out, belly, core strong, stack shoulders. One more breath. Here we go. You can come up onto tippy fingers. You're going to keep coming in that same direction into twisted warrior. Nice big challenge. Exhale, sweep it around to the other side to traditional warrior. From here we inhale to Utthita Parshvanasana. Take another breath there, feeling the stretch of that side of the body. Then as you exhale, press through the front heel. Inhale, fly up, and we move right into Goddess Warrior. Inhaling. And exhaling, straight legs, we move into triangle. The hips drop out to the right. The left hand comes down to unlock the knee, and then you keep going. You're stacking hips and shoulders one over the other. Shins in, thighs back and apart, belly strong, breathing deeply. One more breath. And release. We'll stand down here, placing our hands around that front foot. We'll step back to plank pose. Here's our last plank. So enjoy it. Draw the belly in and up. Inhale. Exhale, drop the knees to the floor. Exhale, we drive through the crown. As the elbows glide back, we come down onto our bellies. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, lift up hands, lift up legs, Shalabhasana. Good, last breath. Exhale, release. Inhale, cobra to tabletop to child's pose. Just a couple more breaths here, so we have time to do some nice stretches on our back. Beautiful. Come on up. Cross your ankles over, one over the other, doesn't matter which one, and sit on through. And then you're going to roll back with knees bent as slowly as you can, working your abdominals. So I like to grab my thighs. I think shins in, thighs back and apart. Same thing. Curling, using those abdominals. See if you can not only draw them into the spine, but traction your spine at the same time. Lengthen out the spaces between each vertebra. When you get all the way down, reach your arms up overhead, interlace your thumbs, pull and lengthen. And go for left side long. And go for right side long. And go for front side long. And go for back side long. Beautiful. Then release your hands and step back onto your feet. So this is an exercise I learned from cranial sacral world. You press into your feet and lift your hips up off the floor. And then just take a moment to try to feel square. So feeling both legs equally strong on the mat, equally grounded, and equally from center. And then you just drop your sacrum back onto the floor. Boom, boom. Just drop it down. We do that 2 more times. Inhale, lift. Even yourself out. Take another breath there. You don't want to lift too high because you don't want to hurt yourself. And then just drop it down, boom. Okay, last one. Inhale, lifting up. Letting those hips just hang. So you're not trying to tuck your booty under. You're trying to keep that little lumbar curve. Make yourself even as best you can see in that X-ray vision. And then just boom, drop, boom. Drop it on down. Beautiful. Take your your feet as wide as the sticky mat. Even yourself out if you need to. If you got kitty wampus, take your hands out in T
and then drop your knees out to the left for windshield wiper. Take your sweep snow angel, your arms up overhead until your thumbs can interlace, and then think shins in, thighs out, and core strong. And see if that just changed the slightly changed the shape of that pose. And then release, draw it back to center, take a cleansing breath, re-even yourself if you need to. Inhale, your arms are out in T, drop the knees over to the right. Snow angel, your arms up overhead, interlace your thumbs, go shins in, thighs apart, belly strong. Belly, ribs, and sternum actually, and then stretch. And gently release. Draw your hips up. Draw a knee into the chest one at a time, and just take circles here for cat-cow, for a little last spinal mobilization. I always love when I do this at the end because it's so different than when I do it at the beginning where there's a little bit of grinding and popping. Go the other way. All right, hug your left knee into the chest, stretch your right leg out, you can hover it. Think shins in, thighs back and apart. Even yourself out on the mat, one more breath. Press down with your head, lift your chest off the floor. Create a little bit of neck strength for the back of the neck to even out. We're often strong in the front of the neck from looking forward and holding that head forward, so we're evening that out. Good, release everything. Bring your right knee into the chest, hug it. Extend your left leg out to hover. Just take a moment for shins in, thighs and apart, thighs back and apart. It's amazing, it's subtle, but it's amazing when we do that and we feel the difference. Then begin to press your head back. You're not lifting the chin. You're just pressing right underneath your eyeballs onto the back of the head, creating strength for the back of the neck. Beautiful, breathe, shins in, thighs out, belly strong, neck anchoring you, and then release. Beautiful. Bring that left knee into the chest. We're going to take full happy baby. So reaching for the outsides of your feet if you can, and dropping your knees in and out towards the outer ribs. You can have your feet wide. And again, here's something to think about. Like for me, I tend to have a pretty good sized lumbar curve, so I'm going to let my hips swing under a little bit here, just so I get a little stretch in the low back. But I can also try what it would feel like to release out of the stretch a little bit and have a little more lumbar curve, and then to try to do try to do happy baby. So you just get used to the fact that you have choices in your yoga practice, and you have to learn over time, or you don't have to learn over time, but I think it's important to learn over time what works for your body best and what helps you in your life off the mat the most. And then I'm just going to rock a little bit left and right, and I'm going to move towards bent and straight legs. So I just kind of play here and feel how it feels to be in my body and the stretch. And I'm going to come back to center, and I'm going to rub my feet together. These feet that work so hard for us every day, little teeny bony things which hold our whole body up. It's crazy. We want to give them as much love as we can. Then bring the soles of the feet together, holding the ankles. See if you can drop your feet, the outer edges of your feet to the floor so your knees widen apart. Now I like to here press my hips down for a little lumbar lift. That feels better to my body. And see how that feels to you, and I get a nice active stretch through the inner thighs. Whenever I create that lumbar curve, I'm always looking to meet that with core work, bringing the lower abs, the middle abs, and the upper abs into clear action. I'm just working on mindful action here today, seeing how we can bring the mind and body into one unit. Big, long, smooth inhales and exhales. And from here, we release the effort, let the legs float out to Shavasana. And then again, there's not a one size fits all for Shavasana. Here's something I like to do just to set it up. Take your arms out in T pose, but turn your palms face down. And just notice, you might notice a little minor stretch over the top of the shoulders. So you're trying to weight into the thumb side of the hand for the first moment. So I find that when we activate a muscle, it's much more likely to be able to fully relax. So pressing into that thumb side, inhaling one more time. And then as we exhale, just release the effort. And I think your palms will float open. Now that's one way to do Shavasana. You can also then just gently snow angel your arms up overhead and then snow angel them down until they're like a relaxed V shape closer to your hips. So you got lots of choices here. So choose the choice that makes sense for you and really feels good. Feel whatever's touching on the earth, the heels, the backs of the calves, the backs of the hips, the backs of the ribs if you're lucky, and the backs of your shoulders, and the backs of your head. Where else can you let go? Your jaw, your eyes, your ears, your tongue, your mind. Let your mind drip down into your body, into your heart, into your digestive system. Let the digestion even digest your thoughts. And that way it can either eliminate them or use them in the body for good. If they're toxic, we don't really want to keep them. We want to release them out. If they're useful, we can hold on to them and use them for growth or peace or contemplation. I let go. Deepen your breath. Let the breath move you and stretch you. You're going to make your way gently and slowly and mindfully up to sitting. We'll meet there with hands in prayer. Give thanks for this practice. We give thanks that we can come to the practice, that we have the ability, that we have the time and the space in our lives. We're grateful for others to practice with and teachers to guide. And we take some of what we gain and imagine that it's just seeping out from our pores after that nice cleansing work. Moving out into the world, sending healing, strength, openness, tolerance. Take a moment just to feel into that. And we seal that with a breath and an Om together. Inhaling. Namaste. Thank you for sharing your practices with me.
This video, please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Namaste.